Hello everyone, I'm your biology teacher. In this video, you are going to study the second part of chapter 5, Human Body Respiratory System. So let's begin. Learning objectives are mechanism of breathing, phases of respiration in human beings, common respiratory diseases, and the ways to prevent respiratory diseases. Mechanism of breathing. The mechanism of breathing included two steps. And look at that, what are they? Inspiration or inhalation and expiration or exhalation. During inspiration, the intercostal muscles expand and the rib cage moves up and outward. As a result of this, the chest cavity expanding and the air moves down to the windpipe and is drawn into the lungs. And this is already mentioned in figure 5.4, mechanism of breathing. And the first step is showing there, diaphragm contracting during inhalation. So during expiration, this is the second step of mechanism of breathing. And during the expiration, the intercostal muscles relaxing. As a result of that, the rib cages moves down and the volume of the chest increases. As a result of this process, the air is forced out to the lungs. So that is called expiration. So these are the two processes involved in the process of breathing. I repeat, the process are inspiration and expiration. The other name of inspiration is inhalation and the other name of expiration is exhalation. The temperature of inhaled air is much lesser than the body temperature. The temperature of inhaled air. Inhaled air means the air we are taking inside of the lungs through the nose. That is much lesser than the body temperature. Our body is always keeping a proper body temperature. So that means the inhaled air temperature is always lesser than the body temperature. Then the blood vessels present in the nasal cavity that makes the inhaled air warm. Then the temperature of exhaled air is higher than that of the inhaled air. Now we are discussing about that inhaled air and exhaled air. Inhaled air means the air we are taking inside and exhaled air means that we are releasing from our body. So inhaling air means oxygen we are taking in and carbon dioxide we are releasing from our body. So the temperature of the exhaled air is higher than in the inhaled air. So it is very close to the body temperature. The exhaled air is also containing higher percentage of carbon dioxide, and not only carbon dioxide, the moisture is also present. Moisture is also present in this inhaled air. So phases of respiration is also explaining in this topic. And in human beings, that means in our body, respiration occurs in 3 steps. And the steps are, first one is breathing. And the other name of breathing is external respiration. And the second one is gaseous transport. And the last one is cellular or internal respiration. And now look at that, what are they? The first one is breathing. And the breathing, that means external respiration. It is a process of inhaling of oxygen. And we are taking this oxygen from the air, from the atmosphere. And this air is entering into the lungs and exhaling. After that, exhaling carbon dioxide back to the air. And this all the process are happening through the nostrils. So this process, that means inhaling and exhaling, that's together to form a process that is called breathing. So that's other name of breathing is external respiration. Once again, inhaling oxygen from the air and releasing carbon dioxide back to the air through the nostrils. And the second phase of respiration is gaseous transport. And in this process, or it involves the absorption of inhaled oxygen. And this absorption is also happening into the blood that is present in the lungs. This oxygenated blood from the lungs is transporting throughout the body, and finally that reaching into the all cells. And inside of the cells, gaseous exchange will be takes place. So this, after the process of that, the oxygenated blood is forming there, and this oxygenated blood is transporting back to the lungs for the removal of carbon dioxide. I repeat, this is second process, and this is a second phase of gaseous transport, and it involves the absorption of inhaled oxygen, and this absorption of inhaled oxygen is happening into the blood, and that is present in the lungs, and in this oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood is the oxygenated blood from the lungs that is transported throughout the body, and that's reaching into the cells and where the gaseous exchange takes place. And this oxygenated blood transport back to the lungs, and that is removing the carbon dioxide. So deoxygenated blood means that contain carbon dioxide. So we need to remove, our body need to remove this carbon dioxide. And so this both process will happen in gaseous transport. Gaseous transport, this is involved both that oxygen, that means the oxygen is reaching into the blood, and that's reaching into all part of the body and all the cells. After that, the deoxygenated blood is collecting, and that's removing, and the removal of that carbon dioxide is also happening in this gaseous transport. And the last phase of respiration is cellular or internal respiration. And in this process, the cells are oxidizing sugar. The cells oxidization of sugar into carbon dioxide and water. That means the breakdown of glucose into the carbon dioxide and water. As a result of this, not only carbon dioxide and water, that's releasing energies also. And the energy is releasing in the form of ATP. So this process is known as cellular respiration. And the other name of cellular respiration is internal respiration. It is a process by which the cells are oxidize sugar into carbon dioxide and water to release energy in the form of ATP. And the next is common respiratory diseases. And in this chapter, that four common respiratory diseases are explaining. And the first one is asthma, and second is bronchitis, and the third one is pneumonia, and the last one is tuberculosis. And look at that, what is asthma? We are going to study about common respiratory diseases. Asthma, in a simple language, we can say that asthma narrows the tubes present in the lungs, and that is also during an acute attack. That means this is affecting to the respiratory tubes, and as a result of that, it's more difficult for taking breath. And the symptoms will show like that coughing, wheezing, and shortness of breath. These are the main symptoms of asthma patients are used to. So asthma is a respiratory disease. This is mainly affecting to the respiratory tube, and this is with the patients is always difficult for suffering to take breath. And the symptoms of asthma: coughing, wheezing, and shortness of breath, etc. Then the second one is bronchitis. When a person has bronchitis, and the person will show that harder for air pass in and out of the lungs. That means this is also affecting to the lungs, and the tissue become irritated, and more mucus will be produced in the respiratory tract. Bronchitis, when a person has bronchitis, and that is very harder for air pass in and out of the lungs. As a result of that, the tissue become irritated and more mucus is produced in the respiratory tract. The next one is pneumonia. Pneumonia is a general term for lung infection, and that can be caused by variety of germs. Number of germs are the causative um, um, organisms for pneumonia. Symptoms of pneumonia, that is depending, that means in different, that according to that, that will show different age people will show different symptoms. So pneumonia vary depending on the age and what caused the disease. The last one is tuberculosis. Tuberculosis generally affects the lungs. So we are all discussing about common respiratory diseases, and we know that the respiratory diseases means that is a common problem of our country. And most often, smoking, pollution, or infections are the blame. So, respiratory tract or lungs, or sometimes that's affecting both respiratory tract and lungs. So, in this disease of the respiratory tract. Now, the next topic, what are the ways to prevent this respiratory disease? And this is the last topic of this chapter. What are the ways to prevent respiratory diseases? We already studied about that four kinds of respiratory diseases, and some of the diseases are affecting to the lungs, and some of the diseases are affecting to the respiratory tract, and some of the diseases are affecting both lungs and respiratory tract. So, what are the ways to prevent respiratory diseases? First one, we need to wash our hands often, especially when you are around the people with colds or different kinds of diseases, as the germs spread through contact. So we need to wash our hands always. Then second one is, keep your nose away from your, keep your, not nose, keep your hands away from the nose or eyes and mouth. So these are the places, that means this nose, eyes, and mouth, these are the places from where germs are most likely to enter your body. So we need to keep our hands away from your nose. Then the third preventive measures is, do not smoke or do not use any kind of tobacco products. That means that will affect the lungs. Smoking makes lungs and respiratory tract more susceptible, and that will cause different kinds of infections. If you live in an area that has problems with air pollution, we need to wear a mask when you step out. So do not smoke or do not use any tobacco products. Then the fourth preventive measures is here, exercise regularly. That means exercise will make you strong and strengthen your immunity and protect you from diseases. So we need to exercise regularly. That is one of the preventive measure of respiratory diseases. Then get a flu shot every year. That means we need to take vaccination in every year for protecting from different kinds of diseases. Then lastly, we need to remember, that means nothing replaces as a healthy diet. So we need to eat a balanced diet. A balanced diet gives you resistance against different kinds of diseases. So this is the last topic of our video, and in this chapter. Now I'm going to winding up this video. Thank you.